we used to call each other baby all the time. Hey, baby. Yeah. You used to never call me Amanda. Ever.
Now I call Jeff baby.
Uh-oh, you better watch.
Mike and I were driving back to LA. We'd spent 3 days driving in a circle from LA to San Francisco, Tahoe, Death Valley, and back. We were scouting out a route for a pilot episode that would later be funded by an outside producer, who would even later back out of the project on the grounds that we were not experienced enough, which was true. At this point, though, the two of us thought our 3 years of hard work had finally paid off. The pilot was to be pitched to Discovery. The project, we hoped, had finally found an audience. But all these details are a side point. The car ride back is irrelevant, really. What matters here, in this story, is that I loved Mike. That I was in love with Mike. And staring out into the endless desert, I thought of our future together. The road that cut through these salt flats seemed like a metaphor for all of the little moments that made up our time together. We'd always been there for each other. On this road, there wasn't anything else. And I felt like we were on an adventure, and it made me feel alive. I never wanted it to end. I was 26 at the time, and looking back now, I can see that it was a mistake. Maybe I just forgot that Mike was only 24. Whatever the reason, I opened up and I asked Mike about everything. About our future, marriage, kids, good job, a place of our own again, a little garden, a dog, and
I reacted poorly, to say the least. Truthfully, but poorly. My blunt and insensitive rejection to everything that Amanda considered to be our future broke her heart, and I hated myself for making her cry. Without thinking, I cringed at the idea of marriage, not because I wasn't happy with Amanda, but because of my poor opinions of marriage. Everything I said, every little knee-jerk expression of pulling away, was made out of fear. I didn't feel capable of making plans 3 weeks from then, let alone 3 years. I took Amanda's advice of looking for editing work in LA as a subtle way of suggesting I didn't have what it took to make it in the film industry, which was nothing but my insecurities hearing what I was most afraid of. If anyone had ever supported me, ever believed in me when there was no logical reason to, it was her.
we both drove in silence the next few hours, neither one fully realizing the damage that had been done. It was a painful conversation.
And my immaturity seeded an assumption that we would be happier now if we avoided the subject of later. A year after, I had withdrawn myself from our relationship. Little by little, I had found every real and non-existent reason that I was incapable of making Amanda happy over the long term. I could see that she was in many ways compromising the things she had defined for so long as happiness. The house, the steady job, the family, and I felt more and more like a weight, stubborn and unmoving. And I feared that years down the road she would grow to resent me.
Mike feared he would still be unready or unwilling to move forward. And then what? In his opinion, he would have selfishly taken 8, 9, maybe 20 years from my life.
Amanda had never done anything wrong, nothing to hurt me, nothing to warrant or make me want to leave her. But I had reached a point where I saw her as less and less happy with me over time, and I felt torn.
The breakup was devastating, and I hated Mike for giving up on us. I didn't understand his reasons, and what little pieces I did, I saw as fear or bullshit. I thought she just didn't love me anymore. In that moment, I lost everything. We lost everything. I never gave up on us. I never gave up on us. I never gave up.
There's so many things that make it what it is, that it's like, how do you pick out the few that are important enough to mention, or how do you explain it to someone who wasn't there and do it justice?
Shortly after the two met, they took a vacation together, a road trip to the Atlantic Ocean. Sleeping on a futon stuffed into the back seats of a '94 Escort. On October 1st, while camping at Lot W21 of Beaver Pond in Harriman's National Park, she told him she loved him, that it hurt in the pit of her stomach to not say it. He told her he loved her too, and he meant it. 2 days later, the two walked hand in hand along the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Shortly after the two met, they took a vacation together. Thursday, January 23rd, 2003. I can't sleep. Like usual, Mike and I stayed up all night. He fell asleep just before sunlight filled up the room. And I've been lying in bed for over an hour now, wide awake. I love turning to see him, lying in bed. I laid there looking at everything on Mike's walls that show who he was and all of the great things he's done. I thought about how much I love who he is, and about who he may one day become. I hope I'm there to see it.
I can sit here and tell you the mistakes that led to our breakup, but to sum up our 5 years together into a few minutes is just impossible. How do I explain it to somebody who wasn't there? How do I pick which moments are worth mentioning and which aren't? Will I ever be able to put into words the way those years haunt me now, and how in ways I can't fully realize I am who I am today because I worked a shitty overnight job at Target. I met Amanda. I fell in love and moved across the country. I just can't find the words. One day, Mike walked past a beautiful girl at his new job. Both dreamed of moving west, and together they knew their love could take them anywhere.
I thought about the scariness and excitingness of moving to California, and sunshine and sandy beaches, and laughter and love. I thought about his family, and his family maybe one day becoming my family.
Amanda is such an overwhelmingly beautiful person, inside and out. Her desire and drive to hold true to her dreams, and to grow as a person who will better live her life in a way that she will smile on when looking back, is inspiring and admirable. A quality I hope she never loses sight of. A quality I hope she knows I am above all and truly attracted to. I know the card isn't much, and it's not surrounded by a handful of 12 dozen roses, and it's not taped to the paw of a giant teddy bear, but it's something for me to write, "I love you" on, and you can always see this card and remember.
I laid there and looked at his face. I put my head on his chest and touched his face and hair and neck and shoulder and arm very gently so that I wouldn't wake him. I thought about how much I loved him. He's so beautiful and smart and creative and loving and giving and sensitive and honest. I thought about how I want to grow with him and learn from him. And experience life with him. I want to travel the world with him. I want to take care of him and lean on him. I want our love to grow more and more every day until it's so great no one could ever grasp it, not even us.
I wanted desperately to hold on to our friendship. Amanda was my best friend and had become a part of my family. I wondered sometimes why I wanted to hold on, why I was putting us through this torture. Was it out of fear or dependency? Did I really think this was for the best? Did I have any fucking idea what I was doing? I felt alone and unsure. I wondered if I had pushed away the only person who ever seemed to really understand me. Soon after the breakup, I won the Network 2 contest, and near that same time, interviewed for a job editing at NBC. I felt bitter at the timing. Firstly, I didn't feel that I deserved anything good, that a string of disasters might feel far more fitting. And secondly, this gave Petal a burst of momentum when Amanda and I needed desperately to take our time finding our balance.
When it became apparent that Petal would finally be filming in the summer, people began to ask me if I'd still be going along to help. My first thought was no, that's Mike's project. I'd always thought of myself as his girlfriend, lending my support or giving advice. But eventually I realized that Petal was not just his project, it was ours. It'd been my idea 4 years before when we lived in Michigan, and I'd helped him with almost every creative decision he'd made since starting the website 3 years earlier. So I asked him if he wanted me to go along, and he said, of course. He didn't think he could do it without me. But he'd understand if I didn't want to. He said it was up to me. I'd always known it would be difficult to film Petal, but now that our relationship was over, it'd be 1,000 times harder. I wondered if maybe being on the road together again would somehow remind him of how much he'd once loved me. Maybe it would bring us closer together. The truth is, I really didn't know what would happen if I went. But I knew what would happen if I didn't go. I knew that I would always regret it. So together, Mike and I began to plan for the road. One last time.